We painted the whole house, and without getting a drop of paint on anything but the flappin' flotsam. What's that?
So, the official Pokemon Center website just rolled out the Gen 5 series of Sitting Cuties, and as expected, Pokemon fans and streamers on Twitter were overjoyed, flocking to the website and getting as many of their favorite Gen 5 Pokemon as they could, with some spending up to 3 times their monthly Twitch payout on these little stuffed animals, myself included. However, one in particular caught my attention, as well as Twitter's, for no specific reason. Ah yes, Roggenrola, the mantle Pokemon. Only this little cute stone fella could evoke such a positive response on social media, right? I had an idea. I wanted to find out how big Roggenrola's ear hole really is.
If you dig a 6-foot hole, how deep is that hole?
It's about like 20 feet.
So I spent a fair amount of time researching for anything that could be of help, from the info in the games to references in the anime. Now, other than height, no other relevant measurements are stated by Pokemon or the games, which leaves a small issue. We don't have enough information. However, we can use the measurements of the Sitting Cutie listed on the website as a reference point, assuming that the Sitting Cutie shares the same dimensions as the Roggenrola from the game, but just scaled down. Since we have the height for both of these things, we can find the ratio of the two, then just multiply the other dimensions by said ratio to get the measurements of the Roggenrola in the games. The Pokedex entry for Roggenrola states that it is 1 foot 4 inches tall, or 16 inches. We can divide that by the height of 4.5 inches as listed on the Pokemon Center website, and we are left with a ratio of 32/9, or roughly 3.56 inches. We then can multiply the width 3.2 inches by this ratio, and we get roughly 11.377 inches, which I'm rounding to 11.4 for the sake of my sanity. And alas, we have our dimensions of Roggenrola in the games.
But Ski, why did you use 3.2 instead of 3.5?
Well, you see, 3.2 corresponds to the width of the plush, which is more useful in determining the spherical portion of the Pokemon, whereas 3.5 corresponds to the length, which includes Roggenrola's feet. We are not savages, we aren't here looking for feet, just holes. Therefore, we use 3.2 inches. In order to calculate the volume of Roggenrola's ear hole, we're going to have to use the formula for a hexagonal pyramid, which can be denoted by v equals square root of 3 over 2 times a squared times height. Now, one of the unique things about Roggenrola is that its ear hole makes up exactly a third of its total width. What can I say? Pokemon loves its proportions. The craziest part, the yellow section on the inside can also be broken up into thirds. We can then use this measurement to find this side length, which will be useful in our final calculation. So we take 11.4, our width, times 1 over 9, and we get 19 over 15. This is our A value in our expression. This is when we run into another problem. We don't know the depth, or the H value, of the ear hole. However, I have a solution. Looking at the image of Roggenrola Sitting Cutie, it is fairly safe to say that the depth is very close to the length of the plush's foot, which we can find easily by taking 3.5 inches minus 3.2 inches, then multiplying by the ratio we found earlier to get 16 over 15 inches. And hooray, we have all the data necessary. Now, we just plug in our A and H values into our expression and we get a total volume of 1.48 inches.
How did they think that was okay to even put it in the game? I'm so sick of this fucking company.
To put this into perspective, the average jelly bean has a volume of roughly 3.5 cubic centimeters. which after converting is equal to around 0.21 cubic inches. Using that information, you could fit roughly 7 jelly beans inside of Roggenrola's hole.
Hey, no, stop, just calm down, don't do it.
Well, there you have it, folks. You now know how deep a Roggenrola's hole is. I hope you enjoyed, because this is the first and most likely last video of its kind. Since I am human, I do have limits. This is my only one. And lastly, I'd just like to say,
What about Vaporeon?
what about Vaporeon?